Welcome back to A Little Bit of Cheese, your bite-sized Wisconsin sports podcast. Sam, I know you practiced it once, and you practiced it the last time. We're not daily. We can't commit to the daily podcast, but we are the bite-sized Wisconsin sports podcast. But thanks for taking over. I appreciate that. But Sam and I, we haven't done a podcast together. It might be 2 weeks now, but it's been a while. It hasn't been since the Bucks have lost, so I need a little bit of back and forth on that. I know we got your thoughts on the personal side, but I didn't hear a lot of your rebuttal to when I brought up the possibility of maybe there being a chance of Giannis asking for a trade. And I know that in your mind, you probably see it as 0%, but if it was ever not going to be 0%, it's going to be now. We'll talk about that, but I want to start up at the top with the Brewers. They are exactly 19-19. They had a 3-3 homestand. This team is 100% average across the board right now. They have an off day today. They've been battling through injuries. They'll be at Tampa Bay for a weekend series tomorrow. Can you grade the Milwaukee Brewers to this point right now? Take everything into consideration. Give me a letter grade. How do you feel about this team?
B-.
Oh,
and that's kind of
optimistic.
Yeah, it is. Murph came out yesterday and said he's surprised that they're playing this good, that we're a 500 team, and he's surprised. I mean, our best guys aren't playing good ball. Yeah. We keep rolling out guys like Isaac Collins and Elvin Rodriguez, like in games. And I just, everybody's injured. The pitching isn't great, and our best hitters aren't hitting great. We're losing games to the White Sox, and we're a 500 team. So I think all that considered, I'll give it a B- for floating this much.
I like that answer. I think it's good. It's optimistic. It's more optimistic than I think how most people feel about this team right now, because it's easy to go on every night. Okay, they won, they lost. Yeah, they won again. They lost a game against the White Sox, but they beat them in the first two games. So you take the series. I'll take a win in any series against anybody. I'll put it that way. Losing one game is fine. And you look back at this past series, okay, they didn't get swept against Chicago. I certainly thought they were going to, the way those first two games went, but Freddie Peralta kind of putting the cape on his back, played Superman that one day. He has pitched spectacular so far. He's been the ace that we hoped was there last year, and we hope can continue through the rest of this year. But then the Brewers playing two really solid games against the Houston team, and then laying an egg on game number 3, the Quinn Priester Day. And I'll be honest about the Quinn Priester Day to this point. Quinn Priester Days should not exist for much longer in this Milwaukee rotation, as Aaron Savali is just about to start his AAA rehab stint. Brandon Woodruff might be back next week. He looked really sharp in his Nashville rehab stint the last time. You have both of those guys coming back. Nestor Cortez, you would think, would be back. Aaron Ashby, I think I'd rather see him start games right now than Quinn Priester. And I will also bring up the point that the Priester trade looks a little bit worse, as you saw the player to be named later on the way over to Boston. That might be one that comes back to bite the Brewers in the future. That one kind of stung, sending away a 19-year-old prospect, another college-age prospect, and a first-round pick to Boston for a guy who could be below average to maybe mediocre for his 6 years in Milwaukee, but you get control. We'll see how it pans out, but I'll say right now, not looking great. And it wasn't really all of his fault yesterday either. A big error in that 5th inning, not helping. That's been the surprising thing for this team. Last year, where you could count on Milwaukee doing the little things right, the base running was perfect, like every time. The fielding was the best that you had in all of baseball last year, and they just played the game the smart way, the right way. And as you said, talent's not going to win this team ball games. It's going to be those little things. And Milwaukee has not done those little things right all season. They have been so banged up in the starting rotation. Christian Yelich is hitting under 200. William Contreras has a broken middle finger on his catching hand, and he says, I'm still going to play. Keep me out there, coach. He's hitting about 242. Bryce Terang is the only guy that's really been excelling in this offense. Jackson Churio, I think, to this point has been underperforming. And they're still 500. So I think at this point, I love the B- grade just for the fact that it feels like they've played really bad baseball and they're still at 500. I'm going to take it to this point for the way that everything feels. The existential right now is the team just has to go on a nice little stretch. You get 5 games above 500 before the All-Star break, and you do the same thing in the second half, and bang, you're in the playoffs. But I will put it this way. I don't think there's going to be a wild card team in the NL Central. I think the NL West and the NL East are going to be way too good. You're not going to have a wild card team out of the Central. It's going to be division winner or bust. And I think Chicago can be really good. I think they can hit. I think their defense is really solid. Their big hole right now is their starting pitching. And Shota Imanaga going down, along with Justin Steele, who's going to be out for the entire season. I don't see the depth. They still have Colin Ray, who I think is their number 3 starter right now. If I was a Cubs fan, I would be concerned. You have a top 10 worst bullpen in all of baseball, and your rotation with injury after injury, it's just going to get worse. It's going to get worse over the course of the year. So the Cubs do kind of scare me. I worry about their pitching depth, which it opens things up for Milwaukee. Once Milwaukee gets a full starting 5 where everybody I feel comfortable with, and I do have to say this, I didn't have him on my radar at the beginning of the year. He's the guy that kind of popped up. I think he's the Tobias Myers of this year. I think Chad Patrick belongs in this rotation. I think he's the guy. How confident are you in what you've seen so far from Chad Patrick?
Yeah, he's definitely earned a spot. There's a couple spots open, and look, at some point, I mean, we're 40 games into the season, right? 38 games into the season right now, and we're still waiting for health to come to play. We knew this coming into the season that there's a little bit of an injury bug. You just wonder, once everybody's comes back, and then they're healthy, then they need some time to really get their legs under them again. Is that going to be enough time to put a regular season record forward enough to make the playoffs? So, like you said, Chad Patrick had absolutely been taking advantage of his opportunities. There's been a hole in that lineup. I think he's earned it. Want to see more out of him, of course. Wasn't on the team coming into spring, I think. So,
not on the big league roster. No, he's a guy that they got for Abraham Toro 2 years ago. He was 14-1 in AAA, absolutely lit it up, and I barely even knew his name going into spring training. And he's showed up this year. He's looked like a big league pitcher, and I think he can continue to do it. And like I said, Brandon Woodruff will be coming back. And a little bit of news along with the Aaron Savali going back to the minor leagues for his rehab stint. Logan Henderson was supposed to pitch today, but they have now taken him off, which gets my wheels turning, and it makes me think he's going to be back up on this big league roster. I don't know how much longer you see a Quinn Priester. I'm going to say it right now. I never want to see Elvin Rodriguez ever wear a Milwaukee Brewers uniform again. By golly, that guy throws cookies. I feel more confident right now in watching Jake Bauers go out there to throw a scoreless inning than flipping Elvin Rodriguez. Like, I was okay with the experiment right away. I was like, okay, this kid's got some stuff. It'll be okay. But you can't throw that many pitches right down the middle while you are also walking dang near 25% of the hitters that step up to the plate. It's unfathomable how bad like you said, Rodriguez has been.
The experiment is over with him. There's other guys. Like, it's not like we're a team that lacks a good farm system. Let's bring other guys up. If we're waiting for people to get healthy, let's see some new faces, see some new arms going on here. The Elvin Rodriguez project that has sailed.
Oh boy. Yeah, that really it ruined yesterday's ball game. Like, it was 3-1 until Elvin came in, and then it 3-run bomb to Pena, and you can throw that whole game in the trash. Which Milwaukee, they haven't swept anybody this year. Which sweeps will come. Sweeps will come. Wins will come. This team's gonna play better, and I kind of want to give a little bit of grace to Christian Yelich. Like, the guy is coming off of back surgery. He's still getting on at over 300%, 30% clip. The slug hasn't been there. The exit velocity is there. He's smoking a lot of line drives. He is hitting the ball hard when he's hitting the ball. He's been striking out a lot, but when he's been hitting it, he hits it very hard. He's run into a lot of bad luck so far this year. And I think he's still just getting his feet wet. We know it took him a couple of years to really get back to form, where last year he was a National League All-Star, and people seem to forget that. I see on Facebook group chats, Yelich should have been gone so long ago. And it seems like everybody forgot that through like 90 games last year, he was a top 3 or 4 outfielder in the entire National League. He was spectacular last year and then had a back surgery. Like, I'm going to give the guy a little bit of grace. I think He's too talented. I think he works too hard. I think that guy's going to come back. I don't think he's going to get back to all-star form this year. I'll say that. But I do think you are going to get an average to an above average hitter, and you're going to have a type of silent leadership out of Christian Yelich. So yes, it's frustrating to watch him right now. I understand, but not even 40 games into the season means 120 are left. There's a lot of baseball to be played yet, and a lot of opportunity for Christian Yelich and everybody else on this team to start playing better. Sal Frelick, congrats to you. You've done great through the first quarter of the season. Bryce Terang, same as well. In the starting pitching rotation, Jose Quintana, I still feel comfortable with. Freddie Peralta, I think this might be the best that we've seen him pitch over a stretch. Chad Patrick has been there, and I'm forgetting somebody else here in this rotation, but they've overperformed. It's, Freddie, Chad Patrick, Quintana, and Tobias Myers is going to be back, and he has looked serviceable. I think he's going to even look a little bit better over the course of these next couple of weeks. And like I said, health is on the way. It's been mediocre. What do you blame most for the mediocrity? Because I hear people blame, of course, Mark Attanasio. I see them blame Matt Arnold. I see them blame Pat Murphy, too. I know that there's been a lot going on in that clubhouse. And then, of course, you have all the injuries. What do you blame most for just being 500 right now?
Hitting Yelich and Contreras, and the lack of a home run ball. It's not like Willie was incredible, and I kind of touched on this earlier this week. It's not like Willie was incredible, but if you're not getting high average numbers from that bulk of your lineup, you need someone that can send a long ball once in a while and change the game. And we're not getting that. And I mean, the pitching is botching games. We've lost 7 games now by 8 or more runs. That's like numbers you should put up over the full season, not the first 40 games. I think
it only happened like 5 times all of last year. Yeah, you're right.
That's so bad. I got a fun stat for you. We're 0-13 when the other team scores first.
Yep.
If it's 1-0, we're losing. I don't know if it's a lack of fight. It seems like a type of an anomaly stat, but you wonder what's going on when 0-13. That's kind of getting sizable. I don't think the bats are there, and I don't think the long ball is there. And pitching health is coming. I mean, it's a beat up team that can't hit the ball.
Yeah,
we're 500. So yeah, I think some averages in the middle really gotta step it up a little bit.
I think so. I think they'll come. I think the answers are correct. Yes, people can go and complain that they didn't go out and they didn't solve third base. You could talk about Joey Ortiz being a very below average major league hitter at this point. One of the worst qualified hitters in all of baseball, actually. I think he's going to be a little bit better than that. You would really hope so. But they do have a hole that they need to fill, I think, for this team to step into World Series contention. And Freddie Peralta needs to continue to be the dog that he's been. Without him, this team doesn't go far in the playoffs. And you saw him not really perform last year in Game 1. And I think that was the beginning of the end, of course, for that series against the New York Mets. So at this point, I think at 500, through everything that has gone wrong at this season, I think overall I have to feel okay with it and just hope for improvements over the course of the year. I hope that this is the worst that this team plays for the rest of the year.
Gotta be, right? Is Yelich really going to hit less than 200 for the rest of the year? It's got to only go up.
Is Contreras not going to hit like he's been in the top 10 in MVP voting the last couple of years? Is Jackson Chourio just going to forget that over the second half of last year had an over 900 OPS and catapulted his way into top 3 in the NL Rookie of the Year voting and the most stacked Rookie of the Year voting that I've ever seen? These guys are going to be there. I really think so. I think the biggest problem for me right now is that stat where you were talking about out of the 13 games that they have started losing, they haven't won any of them. They do not have a comeback victory when they have started down even 1-0 this year. That is completely against anything that we saw out of a Pat Murphy-led team last year. There is something that is just not mentally there. And I think a lot of it can be a testament to how much Willie Adames brought to this team. I think he was so valuable in that clubhouse asset. And I'm not saying that you pay $30 million for a clubhouse guy because you see over in San Francisco, he's not hitting that well this year. And I'm going to be honest, I kind of expected it to this point. I don't think he's ever going to look like he did in the batter's box last year. But they are missing that guy. Somebody needs to step up to be the guy that is holding everybody else accountable. And I don't think it can be just Pat Murphy. I just don't think it can. I think you need that clubhouse guy that also keeps it fun and is more relatable with these guys. And I'm not going to say that Pat Murphy isn't relatable, but it's a lot different when it's a 60-year-old guy or if it's a 32-year-old guy that's playing with you every single day. And that's what Willy Adames was. So,
do you have someone in mind? Do you have someone in mind? Is there a vet out there? Is there what would you do?
Yelich is too quiet. I think he's too quiet. I think Rhys Hoskins has been trying to be that guy. I think Freddie Peralta has kind of been that guy with the pitching staff. I think even Brandon Woodruff, when he can be in that clubhouse, is one of those guys as well.
Yeah.
So Woodruff coming back is going to be huge for that. Where last year, and this is kind of described, John Papadopoulos, I'm going to give him credit for this, but last year, Willy Adames was the leader, and he had his two first lieutenants, and they were Freddie Peralta and they were William Contreras. But neither of those guys, they don't have that leader. They are not the general. And I don't know if one of those guys steps up. It should be Christian Yelich, but I just don't think that that's his personality. Like, just listening to him talk, I don't think he's the guy that's going to lead you into war. I think Contreras could be. Maybe language barrier gets in the way of that, possibly. But I think Woodruff and Rhys Hoskins and Contreras and Peralta, one of those guys, I think, is going to have to be that solidified leader, where Willie was he was unique. Like, I've never seen anybody just have the clubhouse like he had it. They had so much fun when he was there in that dugout, and it was kind of an anomaly. It was kind of rare. So I don't think anybody could pick it up like Willy Adames did, but I think those are going to be the guys that are going to have to lead this still very young roster for the Milwaukee Brewers. So not homestand, away series starting in Tampa on Friday tomorrow. Tampa has been about average to just below average this year. You would hope Milwaukee can take 2 out of 3, as of course we'll keep tabs on that. Now I want to get to a little bit of the Milwaukee Bucks talk, and I do actually want to start this conversation with the Indiana Pacers are up 2-0 right now. How does this make you feel as a Bucks fan after that first series loss?
They play well as a team. I mean, the Pacers have 5 guys. They have an identity. They know what kind of ball they want to play. I always thought that Cleveland was a little bit vulnerable, but the Pacers are also finding themselves into some dumb luck. I mean, they got 2 offensive rebounds on missed free throws to end the game in game 1. It was an 8-point swing in I think about 30 seconds, and then just yesterday, Garland was out, Mobley was out, and DeAndre Hunter was out. Those are 3 of Cleveland's top 6 guys. So Indiana Pacers are taking advantage of the injured teams and the unique opportunities when teams want to collapse in front of them. Tyrese Haliburton has hit some big shots. I think they're going to get absolutely smoked when they see Boston next round, who is shockingly down 0-2 to the Knicks right now.
Right.
Again, I think Boston's going to come back. I think they're too good. But I think once they find a team that has quality perimeter defense, the Pacers style of basketball will be exploited.
I think so as well. Do you think this sets Milwaukee further apart from where you thought their full potential was? Or do you think this brings them even closer, seeing Indiana go up 2-0 like this?
No, I still think the Bucks could have been competitive with Cleveland. I think we could have been competitive with Indiana. Obviously, the Dame injury is terrible, and the coaching was terrible. The talent on the floor was there. It's hard to say because we never got our best lineups out there, but I still think the Bucks could have been competitive with any of these teams, and I still think a healthy Giannis Dame was built in the half court to play against a team like the Celtics, and this roster was not built to run and gun with the Indiana Pacers. It was an awful matchup for us, and Doc didn't respond. But the core of the Bucks, I still think that they could have made the push this year. I don't
When do
think
you
it pushes.
think the Doc Rivers has been fired by the Milwaukee Bucks news is coming? Like, are you surprised it hasn't been yet? Does that scare you? Does it frighten you?
Terrifies me. Absolutely terrifies. Every day that goes by and Doc is still in Milwaukee is awful. It is
Yeah.
it is terrifying. Does it surprise me? No. Unfortunately, he's got to be so in bed with Jimmy Haslam or whoever ownership is going on or a horse. He's got to be best friends up there, really giving him all the sugar. Hey, I made the adjustments, in game 5, like I caught on. Maybe he's going to move into the front office. That might scare me even more than being a coach. I don't. Every day that goes by and Doc is still with this team is sad because make these moves now. We saw the Nuggets fire their coach with season still left. And look, now Jokic is being the coach. It just opens up opportunities. Let's get this ball rolling. Let's get the new face in there. Let's not hire someone before the season. Now, I get the season's still going on, and we're just a couple weeks out. But let's get Doc out the door and figure out who the coach is after that.
Yeah, it also frightens me seeing it. Like I think this whole thing started, of course, when they made that Adrian Griffin hiring, and then even after a little bit of success in the terms of they had a decent record at the point, actually a good record at the point when they fired Griffin, and then made that change because they wanted to see more defensive efficiency. They went to Doc Rivers, and there was a reason why he was not picked up by any other team at that time. And Milwaukee was able to bring him in. This is the first full season. And overall, I mean, you see the success with the in-season tournament, which I think you put a lot of stock into that. At least I know you do. For me, it's kind of fun, but I'm not going to say that it's any real success that you're cheering for at the top level, like an NBA championship or even a series win. I think you're taking over the in-season tournament every single time. And so I don't know how much stake you put into that, but just an underwhelming season overall, and just one of those bad luck at the end, Dame going down, and I think it just stings that much more for next year, which brings me to my next question, which I'm not sure if you listen to my take on it immediately after the Bucks loss, but I think that I know the rumors are, of course, stirring around. I don't know if they're within the building, but how much of a possibility do you think is it that Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks part ways via trade this offseason? You think
0.
it is 0?
Yeah, it's 0. Giannis loves Milwaukee. He came out and said they'd have to force him out. Now, sometimes players will come out and say, I'm not leaving. I think Kevin Durant said that he wants to be a Warrior for life, and then a month later, Giannis and Kevin Durant are built a little bit differently. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he wants to be a Buck. I think we'll be able to figure it out. The trade package that would have to be for Giannis would want to go somewhere to compete for a championship.
Mm-hmm.
The trade package that would require a team to get Giannis, that team would no longer be a championship contending team. If Houston gives up Şengün and Jalen Green and Fred VanVleet for Giannis, and it just becomes a Giannis and Amin Thompson show, that's not a championship team. If OKC has to give up 3 of their perimeter defenders and a handful of picks, like if it's just SGA and Giannis, you can't just sit and be like, oh, we're the 16-17 Warriors, we're going to go win a chip. The package that it would take to get Giannis would be monumental through the roof. Giannis doesn't want to leave Milwaukee. I don't see it happening. I think they'll figure it out. I think Giannis has it in his core. He posted the Instagram win for Cream City, which these playoff slogans keep getting worse and worse for the Bucks.
Comment.
I think that's just Giannis acknowledging the season, acknowledging the Bucks fans, saying, "Hey, I'm here." There's always going to be rumors. Shout out to him and Mariah just had their fourth kid.
Yeah, shout out. Congratulations there. That's awesome. And I think it's a lot to be said about how unique and special that kind of individual is, like Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like the majority of people, even on planet Earth, if you were in that situation where the Bucks just went through the heartbreak that they did once again, where the roster is looking like for next year, your Robin is going to be gone for most of, if not the entire season. You have no young talent. You have no draft capital. You have no trade capital. Like, you don't have any salary cap. I think a lot of people would look for their way out the door. I think they would. And I don't know if Giannis is. I don't even know how much that thought even crosses his mind. I think he's loyal. I think he's faithful to these Bucks. And just personally, for me, it's almost getting to the point where I don't know if the Bucks deserve Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, that's like, fair.
I am at that point where I'd rather see, because I don't know if a championship is coming in the next 3 years. I don't. The future doesn't look that bright if you look at everything considered here for the Milwaukee Bucks. And I know you're an optimist about this. I know you are. But looking at, like, there's no draft picks. There's no cap space. Like, that. The chances of Milwaukee bringing somebody in that is going to have a true impact to this team is going to have to be along the likes of a Gary Trent Jr. or a Kevin Porter Jr., guys either on the veteran minimum or someone who has off-the-court issues and nobody wants to deal with inside their locker room. Well, they'll ship them away for a bag of chips, or Marjan Beauchamp for that instance. But that's how Milwaukee brings players in. There's not really many other routes that they have. Like, what are the chances of success even next year and looking forward for this Bucks team? Please bring me back in, reel me back from the ledge. How does this Bucks team win? How can they get Giannis another ring? Because I think that at the core is what I'm rooting for to this point.
It's Giannis. That's the answer. It's Giannis. He's that good. You got one of the all-time legends on your team, and you figure it out. You start to run this Giannis and friends lineup where you stop getting so cute and trying things with him and Dame. Like, now we have an identity. The Pacers are not loaded with talent, but they have an identity. If we go into next season with an identity, we run through Giannis, just like the Nuggets are doing with Jokic. You have an identity. Get some dogs, get a little bit of fight in you. I think they're a playoff team. I think we get bounced in either the first or second round, depending on matchup, just because whatever we roll out will be exploited by full teams. Yeah. And I was thinking this, Cody.
Okay, I like thinking.
There was the big three in Boston happened in about 2009, 2010, and that kind of became the identity for the NBA. That's how you go win a chip. You go get a big three. And then the Warriors happened, and it was a big three, and then it was kind of LeBron and this big three. But in the past few years, really, it's been a big six. If you can roll out a 6-team roster. Look what the Thunder just did this year. They almost won 65 games. They won 65 plus games this year. That's a roster of guys. Mm-hmm. The Golden State Warriors the other night, when Steph went out, they ended up playing 13 different guys to win that game. That was the tweak that coaching made. I think fresh legs, if you can go 10 deep and have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys and play that as your roster, that's almost becoming the next formula away from the big three, getting fresh legs out there. So having your dominant guy in Giannis, and if John Horst can really cook something up, and it doesn't have to be studs. It doesn't have to be all-stars. It doesn't have to be Giannis and Dame. That's not winning a championship. Who's the best duo in the league? They're not winning the championship right now. LeBron and Luka, incredible. Just got smoked by a team with perimeter defense and a strong interior that has an identity. I think the days of the ISO ball in the early 2000s, and then it was the big three identity. It's really becoming a team is getting you the championship. You can have that big two, big three to be a quality team in this league, and you're always going to win if you have that top-end talent. But the teams that are actually winning, the Celtics, they have an identity. The Pacers are in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's what's making it far in the NBA playoffs these days. So if Horst can cook and fill out the right guys on those vet Mins, the Kevin Porter Jr. was a right guy. I think Jericho Sims is one of those right guys.
Yeah.
They're out there. And if you can fill in some dogs 6 through 10, get an identity, and again, it starts with coaching, I think there's a door open. I think that's the next model for successful teams.
I think defense has to be the first point of emphasis when you're trying to bring in new talent. Because I think when it came down to it, like you said, when they would try to switch guys off and Brook Lopez is on the floor, they weren't able to cover from that. Like there were so many wide open threes. You have to have a defense to be able to move on in these playoffs. And I think that was shown, and it's been shown so far. So I think that's going to have to be the first point of emphasis right after getting Doc Rivers out of town, which should happen as soon as humanly possible. But we just wait and we hope, and we get a little bit more scared as time goes on, but time does go on. Move into the cheese grater quick here. Sam, I'll actually let you take off with your first grater question.
Yeah, absolutely. What would it take for you to actually start being worried about Christian Yelich?
I mean, I think we've already been there. We've seen a really bad Christian Yelich. I mean, we know at this point you're not getting $30 million a year, which is what they're paying. I think it's actually up to 35 right now. You know that you're not getting it. And I think I've seen him play too good. I think this is similar to kind of how you feel about your Milwaukee Bucks. Like there's just, you can't make me not believe in what I saw. Because for 2 years, that guy was the face of baseball. And no, I don't think that face of baseball is ever coming back. I don't know if that is there with Christian Yelich. But I still always think that swing is too pure to, at the end of the season, that he's not at least an average hitter, which is really all that Milwaukee needs right now in the middle of that lineup. Just more average bats. That's how you do it up and down of the lineup. So I'd say he would have to be this bad for the next, I'd say 80 games. It'd be like a 120-game stretch after his back surgery. He's still hitting under 200, which really, if you look at the overall OPS numbers with the home runs he's hit, he's only about 40 OPS points below average. Like, he's really not that far off. He's just struck out a lot, and he hasn't gotten a lot of hits. But I think he's hit the ball hard. He's run into a little bit of bad luck. Just needs to cut down on those strikeouts. So I still believe it. I think it's there. I think it might take a little bit more time, but he's still someone where if he's up to bat, I'm not leaving the room to go do something else. I'm still watching Yelich because I'm still hopeful, and I still want to bring back those memories of that guy who should have won the MVP twice in a row in the National League. Give me an overall grade on the Milwaukee Bucks season. I know this is one that it kind of a heart ripper at the end of it, but I know you like to be an optimist about this. Grade it overall, future, past, everything considered for what it means for this Bucks franchise.
C minus. C minus. I'm not going to the D territory quite yet. I don't know. You could convince me to do D. You could convince me to go to F because Doc is the coach, but it wasn't a good one. It was a good one. It wasn't a good one. High expectations were way too high to lose to the damn Pacers.
Yeah.
He's the Packers' single game passing yards record holder.
That's Matt Flynn in 2011, Week 17 against Detroit. I will never forget that game. That was incredible. Like that, I'll never forget where I was when I watched it. I'll never forget Jordy Nelson with his touchdowns that day. That is Matthew Flynn out of LSU.
Absolutely. 480 of those big boys.
6 tutties, right?
Yup.
Yeah, that was legendary stuff. That got him paid. That got that guy a mansion. That got him some land. That game paid for the rest of his life. So congrats to Matt Flynn for one of the all-time legendary performances. One of those great trivia questions that I will never even let you finish asking before I answer it. What team are you most happy about out of all Wisconsin sports? Because I feel like we're at this point where there's way you can be negative about everybody and everything. Which one makes you smile when you think of them?
I touched on it a little bit on the earlier this week. Gyre's back at training camp. Go Pack, go, baby. Pack is back. I'm stoked for this Packers team. They're young. Hey, I'm a fan of Matthew Golden. Like, I'm excited to see these guys get out there. Brewers have given me just enough to stay interested. Bucks got to get Doc out of the building, and I'm ready to be young. Go Pack, go come this fall.
Amen.
What's the best single play you've ever seen live?
The best single play that I like this question a lot. Uh, so just when I think about that Yelich MVP season, like that was that the course of those 2 years, that was like along with Giannis. But I mean, we all know I'm a Brewers guy and I'm not really a Bucks guy. I love watching Giannis, but I don't think I fully understand what he's doing night in, night out. With Christian Yelich, it all started. It was, I believe, the first series of the year back in 2018. So it would have been Christian's third game with the team. And the Brewers were down 3-2 in the bottom of the ninth. Dominic Leone was on for the Cardinals to close out the game. And he gave up a really long home run to Yelich, where he went and circled the bases. And then he got home. And if you watch the live broadcast, like go look it up, go look up Yelich Braun walk-off home run, and you'll see the back-to-back where they were panning the camera into Yelich going into the dugout, high-fiving everybody, and then the exact moment that they went back out to the actual field of play, the first pitch to Braun, he smoked it into left center, and the game was over. And hearing Bob Uecker make that call, so it's not really a play. I could probably think of that a little bit more because there's a lot of great ones. Like I can go say Beastquake and everything, but that was the moment that I kind of knew, okay, Yelich is going to be that clutch guy. He can start to have this team on his back, and he started out back-to-back home runs that won it all for the Brewers in that first series against the St. Louis Cardinals back in 2018. So I'll never forget that, and one of the best calls I've ever heard from Bob Uecker. That'll do it for us today. We'll be back on Monday to cover the Brewers and the Packers. The Brewers will be playing in Tampa. This is another edition of A Little Bit of Cheese, your bite-sized Wisconsin sports podcast.